Most people who try to live off dividends make one mistake that can wreck retirement. They chase high yield instead of dividend safety. That 8% yield you're excited about, sometimes it's not income. It's a warning label. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you 3 things: the biggest dividend myths, the questions you should be asking, and the real risks that can destroy your income plan, plus a simple checklist to protect yourself. Quick disclaimer, this is education, not personal financial advice. And whether you're already retired or you're 5 to 10 years away, this matters because dividends can get cut, prices can drop, and inflation can silently eat your buying power. If your goal is retirement income, my job today is to make sure you don't build a plan that looks safe, but breaks when the market gets stressful. Let's start with the biggest truth nobody tells you. Dividends are not magic. When a company pays you a dividend, it's distributing cash from the business to you. A value transfer, not a bonus created out of thin air. On the ex-dividend date, the stock starts trading without the right to that dividend. So the price often adjusts downward by about the dividend amount. But markets can still move for other reasons that same day. The key point is simple. Dividends change the form of your return. Some cash, some price, not automatically your total return. Think of it like this. Imagine you have a $100 bill in your pocket. Someone reaches in, takes out $5, hands it back to you and says, "Here's your income. You don't have $105 now. You still have $100, just in a different form. 5 in your hand, 95 in your pocket." That's similar to what happens with dividends. Cash appears in your brokerage account, and the stock will typically trade lower around the ex-dividend date because new buyers aren't entitled to that cash. Your total wealth didn't magically increase. It got split between price and cash. That's why the metric that actually matters is total return. Dividends plus capital appreciation, or minus capital loss if the stock drops. A portfolio paying 5% in dividends but declining 3% in price delivers 2% total return. That's not automatically better than a growth stock delivering 2% with no dividend at all. Once you understand this, you stop chasing yield like it's free money and you start thinking about sustainability, cash flow, and whether that dividend is actually safe. And by the way, if you want to skip ahead, I've added chapters. Myth number 2 is where most people get trapped. The first misconception is that dividends are free money. People think dividends are bonus income, something extra on top of their investment gains, like a paycheck that appears separately from the stock's value. Reality is different. Dividends come from company cash that belongs to shareholders. When that $1 dividend hits your account, the stock will typically trade lower around the ex-dividend date because new buyers aren't entitled to that dividend anymore. You haven't created profit out of nothing. You've just taken part of your return as cash instead of price. Here's a simple scenario. You own 100 shares of a company at $50 each. That's a $5,000 position. The company pays a $2 dividend per share, so you receive $200. Sounds amazing, until you realize the shares may now trade around $48. Your stock value becomes about $4,800, plus your $200 cash. Still roughly $5,000. The dividend didn't add extra value. It delivered value differently. That's the first mindset shift. Dividends are not free money. They're one-way returns show up. The second misconception is that high yield means high income, so higher yield must be better. This is where people get trapped. Yield is just a math equation, dividend divided by price. If the price collapses, the yield spikes. That means a very high yield can be the market screaming, "Something is wrong here." This is how yield traps happen. The yield looks incredible right before the company cuts the dividend. So what do you do instead? You stop treating yield like a trophy. If a stock's yield is way above its sector peers, noticeably higher than similar companies, treat that as a red flag, not a green light. Start asking, is the business stable? Is cash flow strong? Is debt manageable? And is the payout sustainable? For many normal companies, a consistently high payout ratio can be dangerous. But you also need the right lens for the sector. For REITs, you don't judge sustainability only by earnings. You often look at FFO or AFFO coverage. The point is, don't chase the biggest number. Chase the strongest business and the safest cash flow. The third misconception is that dividends are guaranteed like bond coupons. People think once a company starts paying a dividend, it's basically locked in forever. Nope. Dividends are discretionary. A board of directors can cut them at any time. And when a cut happens, two things usually hit you at once. Your income drops, and the share price often drops too, because the market reprices the company as less reliable and sometimes less healthy. This is not rare in real life. Wells Fargo cut its dividend hard in 2020. Royal Caribbean suspended its dividend in the past. FMC cut its dividend dramatically in 2025. If your entire plan is, "I'll live off dividends like a paycheck," one cut can break the plan instantly. That's why you need a dividend strategy that can survive cuts, because cuts happen. The fourth misconception is that dividend stocks are always safe. People imagine dividend investing as boring, stable, low risk. Like you buy some safe companies and you'll never lose money. But dividend stocks crash too. In 2008, dividend investors in banks got crushed. In 2020, dividends in certain sectors came under serious pressure. High dividends don't protect you from a falling share price. If you're collecting 5% a year, but the stock drops 20%, you're losing. Here's an analogy that makes this painfully clear. Imagine you buy a rental property that pays you $500 a month in rent, but the neighborhood is collapsing and the property loses $1,000 in value every month. You're not winning. You're slowly going broke while feeling rich because cash keeps hitting your account. That's how a high-yield stock can fool you. The income feels good while the underlying value erodes. Meanwhile, look at businesses that focus on quality and growth. A company like Visa started with a lower yield, but grew dividends over time while also delivering capital gains. An investor who chased a safe high yield with flat or falling share prices can get left behind by a lower starting yield that compounds faster. That's why dividend growth and business quality matter more than a headline yield. Now let's hit the questions people actually have. The biggest question is always, how much money do I need to live off dividends? This is where most people get unrealistic. If you need $50,000 per year and you're targeting a 4% yield, you're looking at roughly a $1.25 million portfolio. If you need $100,000 per year, it's around $2.5 million. The math is brutal, and it's the part nobody wants to talk about. For most people, dividends are a supplement for a long time, not a full paycheck, until the portfolio gets large enough. The next question is, can dividends replace a salary? Sometimes, yes, but only if you respect the risks. A salary is stable. Dividends are not guaranteed. Dividends can be reduced, paused, or cut, and your bills don't care. If you want dividends to behave like a paycheck, you need margin of safety, diversification, an emergency fund, and flexibility in your spending plan, so you're not forced into selling at the worst time. Another common question, are dividend ETFs safer than picking individual stocks? For most people, yes, because diversification is a form of protection. If one company cuts, it doesn't destroy your entire income stream. But ETFs can also include weaker companies and sometimes dilute upside. A practical approach for many investors is a blend. A high-quality dividend ETF as a core, and then a small set of carefully chosen dividend growth stocks if you want to build around it. Then there's the question, should I reinvest dividends or take the cash? If you're still building wealth, reinvest. Reinvestment is how compounding becomes real. It's how your income can snowball over years. Only shift into cash mode when you actually need the money for living expenses. And even then, the goal is to withdraw in a way that doesn't break the portfolio. Now, let's talk about the biggest concerns, what can go wrong, and how to protect yourself. One major risk is the yield trap. The warning signs are usually clear if you bother to look. A yield far above peers, a payout that looks unsustainably high, cash flow weakening, and the company taking on more debt just to maintain the dividend. The protection is to build rules before emotions take over. Don't buy a yield you don't understand. Favor businesses with stable or rising free cash flow, reasonable payout policies, and balance sheets that aren't one bad year away from panic. Another risk is sector concentration. Dividend-paying stocks often cluster in the same types of sectors: utilities, REITs, telecom, and certain defensive names. Your portfolio can look diversified because you own many tickers, but functionally, you're making one big bet on an interest rate cycle. The protection is to intentionally diversify across sectors and limit any single sector from dominating your income stream. Then you have interest rate sensitivity. Many income-heavy sectors rely on debt. When rates rise, borrowing costs increase, and valuations can compress. During major rate shock periods, rate-sensitive income vehicles can see brutal drawdowns, and payouts can come under pressure. If you're a beginner, be especially careful with highly leveraged, rate-sensitive structures. You don't have to avoid them forever, but you should size them responsibly and understand exactly what you're holding. Inflation is another silent killer. A company raising dividends 2% per year while inflation runs 3% is effectively cutting your purchasing power by about 1% per year. That's how retirees get squeezed without noticing at first. The protection is to target dividend growth, companies with room to grow payouts over time, and to make sure the businesses have pricing power and durable cash flows. And then there's tax drag. Taxes can quietly eat your yield. Many REIT distributions are taxed like ordinary income, but the exact character can vary. MLPs can be even more complex, often involving return of capital dynamics and taxes that show up later in different ways. And if you're outside the US, you may face withholding tax on US dividends, depending on treaties and broker paperwork. Over decades, this leakage can compound into meaningful underperformance. The protection is simple, but often ignored. Understand what kind of income you're receiving. Use tax-advantaged accounts where possible. And if you're a non-US investor, make sure your broker has a valid W-8BEN on file and that you're aware of withholding and currency conversion realities. So, what do you do with all of this? Here's a practical action plan. Without the hype. First, focus on free cash flow, not just reported earnings. Companies can manipulate accounting, but cash is harder to fake, and dividends are ultimately paid in cash. Second, use a sustainability rule. For many normal companies, a consistently high payout ratio is a red flag. Sustained levels above roughly 70% can be dangerous, but always use the right metric for the sector. For REITs, look at FFO or AFFO coverage, and for banks, pay attention to capital strength and resilience. Third, diversify properly. Aim for enough holdings and enough sectors that one cut doesn't wreck your life. Fourth, review your holdings on a schedule. Quarterly is a simple rhythm, and don't wait until panic hits. Fifth, decide your sell rules in advance when you're calm, not when the stock is crashing and emotions are loud. Sixth, never build a plan that depends 100% on dividend income with zero flexibility. Build margin and optionality. Seventh, account for taxes, withholding, and currency conversion when calculating your real take-home yield. Eighth, cap rate-sensitive sectors so your income doesn't become one interest rate bet. Ninth, keep a separate emergency fund, 3 to 6 months of expenses, so you're not forced to sell at the worst possible time. And 10th, reinvest dividends while you're building. Switch to withdrawals only when you truly need the income. So here's the takeaway. Dividends are not free money. High yield can be a trap, dividends can be cut, and a dividend portfolio can still crash. But if you focus on quality, sustainability, dividend growth, and total return, dividend investing can absolutely help you build long-term wealth. If you found this helpful, hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Comment yield and tell me, what do you personally consider a safe dividend yield for retirement? 3%, 5%, 7% or more? And are you retired or still building? I read every comment and I'll use your answers to make the next video even better. See you in the next one.